I wouldn't go into any detail on this show because it wasn't really worth it, except I'm gobsmacked at what was shown. And it's amazing that just the loss or absence of a couple of guys can do this. I'm not talking about all the people that are injured. I'm just talking about the people that were carrying this program and were doing the good stuff. The opening match, and this was Wednesday night, August 3rd, the opening match on AEW was Jay Lethal versus Pockets. The wrestling war is up for grabs, and the first thing that we see on this national cable television show is a fucking bland, unimpressive parking lot attendant walk into the ring, playing Jefferson Starship from 30 years ago. People say I'm behind the times.
Well, no, it's a little bit older than that.
Actually, no. Jane, you playing again? That's 40 years. Imagine that. How time flies. And here's Jay Lethal, one of the most underutilized talents on the roster, who can perform, who can talk, who's a quality human being, who's never going to get you any bad publicity, who doesn't try to fucking cut other people's nuts off. What?
That's one big issue with Jay Lethal, is the fact that he does have a lot of negative publicity around him. And that's what causes a lot of people to...
But not for anything actually legitimate, for the ravings of a bunch of fucking lunatic women.
Well, I don't know that. I just know that women made accusations about it. I never heard any end to it, but I mean, that's still out there. So whenever Jay Lethal...
I heard two women made accusations, and both of them could fucking have a staff of psychiatrists retiring on just their cases. So as far as I'm concerned, fuck anybody says anything bad about Jay Lethal. How's that? If you say anything bad about Jay Lethal, you're a racist. How's that? The point is, he doesn't have any bad habits. He doesn't have any substance abuse issues. He's not going to go out and fucking drive drunk and get in the newspapers. He's not going to go out and be busted for fucking drug possession. He's not going to go out and goddamn wrestle the Invisible Man or a 6-year-old child. He's a competent professional. He's experienced. And he's never, as a matter of fact, he was the model employee in Ring of Honor. If you wanted somebody to do an appearance at a children's hospital or a local television affiliate or a sponsor's location of business, the entire locker room ought to be embarrassed that this was done on television and pissed off that they're breaking their bodies for a guy that doesn't take his own business seriously.
Before you get to the match, if I could ask you a question.
I'm not going to get to the match. I didn't watch it. It was involved Pockets. I'm not going to, I'm talking about the insult to his locker room, the insult to his business, and the insult to his television program, that every week, just because he wants to dress up like this fucking clown for Halloween, that Tony Khan will subject us to looking at this fucking guy, to the detriment of everybody involved in his business, because he's a mascot. He's a favorite. What were you going to say?
And by the way, on that topic, it is interesting and I would guess somewhat coincidental, only coincidental, that when the guys left the show that made the show good and the show started going in a weird direction, sometimes directionless, sometimes just filled with random New Japan wrestlers, that's right when he came back onto the scene. And I know he hasn't started every show, but he started several, it feels like, recently. Like, the first thing you see is him and Chuck Taylor and fucking Trent.
Well, because the thing, they're trying to keep the Big Bang Theory viewers, and the Big Bang Theory has a lot of women viewers, and apparently they've decided through their research that women who don't like wrestling but watch the Big Bang Theory will stick around to watch someone make fun of the wrestling they don't like, so they'll laugh at it before they switch the channel to the show they actually want to watch. That is the theory for opening the show with Pockets. So, but you know, hey, here's the thing. I just need to open a steakhouse for vegetarians.
Did you see the post-match?
I'm getting to that. So Lethal won the match, of course. They're not that crazy, but he came out worse for it because it placed him as a comedy preliminary guy in people's minds.
I was surprised.
And then
I was surprised that Tony actually had Jay Lethal go over.
Well, I am too, but not with what happened next, because they've got to sacrifice Jay Lethal to somebody else, because Lethal called out Wardlow. And as he called out Wardlow, he and Sanjay and old Zippy, the giant pinhead, start getting more heat on pockets. And here comes the Puddin' Gang. The Puddin' Gang to like they're going to make a save. And then Wardlow. And the heels bail out, and Sanjay agrees that next week, or at Battle of the Belts, rather, it'll be Jay Lethal versus Wardlow. And that's going to be a good match, but with this build-up, again, they worked so hard. They all worked so hard. Wardlow becomes a phenomenon. And now he's buddying up with the Puddin' Gang. They all worked so hard.
And I don't want to just dismiss the Giant because of the way he's been used. And I mean, Jay Lethal, I was supposed to say Jay used. Jay Lethal has been used poorly since he's been there. Sanjay, he's pretty good on the mic, but I don't think because of the way they've all been used, any of this really like matters in the general scheme of things. It was nice to see them at least set him up for a match with Wardlow. Maybe when's Battle of the Belts? Next week?
No, tonight.
Oh, is it? Fuck. I was going to say, at least it gives him a week to build up the match. It doesn't even do that.
No, they announced it for 4 days ahead of time.
They announced it for 4 days ahead of time, but I don't know. I mean, the Giant hasn't been awful. He hasn't been as bad as Omos in his limited interactions with different things.
No, but that's even worse. They just brought him out and started showing him. They've had him interacting with silliness and...
I was shocked that Jay Lethal won this match. Based on the way Tony uses Orange Cassidy, especially lately. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, you're building up to the Wardlow. We didn't know that yet, but the fact that he pinned Orange Cassidy, I was blown away. I said, wow, they really are going to use Jay Lethal.
When they get serious about their business, there won't be any Orange Cassidy on the television program if they ever get serious.